It's the Wishbone Pod. I think we all need to sing Uncle T a song. You know what to do, boys. 1, 2, 3. Go fuck yourself on your birthday. Fuck you, Uncle T. Uncle T, in all seriousness, happy birthday.
Let me turn the volume down.
You, huh?
Let me turn the volume down since you started the show off with F-bombs and I got family in the other room. So,
goodness, Grandma T is back there like, what are you doing, Terry?
Yeah, that's when they
are
put
your
their
friends here?
You know,
that's when they put their hearing aids back in because they know something good's going down.
I don't take blame for this. Uncle T knows what this show is about, and he left his mic up, or his speaker up. Happy birthday, Uncle T.
Appreciate that. I look pretty good for 51. I look better at 51 than Holden does at 45. We've been saying it all day. I've gotten a lot of confirmation. No. Yeah, you asked me a question. You got to let me answer. Discord all day long today. They said, man, happy birthday first off. And then they said how much better I look at 51 than you do at 45. And I said, you know what? Normally I'd like to take up for Holden, but I mean, they speak the truth. I mean, you're struggling a little bit at your age. And, you know, I mean, I do know this. I want to get you on the golf course, though, because when we get into talking about this golf outing we had last Friday with Mangone and BigT and Rubio, I think you might be able to compete and beat Mangone. I don't know. It'll be close.
I could kick it down the fairway and compete with Mangone. I mean, come on.
I mean, that's pretty hurtful, first off, but I mean, we had a good time out there, the boys. We enjoyed it. We had a few stories, told some lies, and Uncle T got into Rubio's pocket. So that's you know, that's the biggest key and takeaway from that. But what, Holden? You look like you want to say something.
I'm 47, not 45.
Well, I mean, I was trying to give you a couple years, so
I have to keep up.
You
with
look even worse at 47 then.
G-Rizen, would you at least like to tell our lovable co-host how happy you are for him on his birthday while wearing a Tom Brady shirt?
Oh, hey, it's his birthday. It's always, listen, when you get around that 50 mark, any birthday after that, it's a reason to celebrate because, you know, another time around the calendar is always a fun time. You know, I mean, that's just the way it is. So, but hey, Uncle T's got, I sent him down a little birthday package. I think might has a little bit of something that I sent him in his mouth there. I seen him kind of got him little.
No, this is a golf tee. That didn't come yet, G-Rizen, but
all right.
G-Rizen got something coming. I think JT took care of Uncle T, but Holden is no shock at all. If you was to put a poll up of the ones that we're going to, you know, maybe do something for Uncle T, it would have definitely been Holden not doing it. I can tell you that right now. So, you know.
Didn't your nephew not even take you out for lunch today?
JT, I want to go on a rant here for a minute. So, you know, a little sensitive, no doubt about it. So all year long, right? You and I last year with Rubio and I think Title, we grinded that baseball playbook, right? For like 6 months straight, right? You and I, we put a lot of time into it, put out some good content. This year, we got another good crew on the baseball side. But from a playbook standpoint, DC and I have been doing them every single night, right? So show after show, Holden, he just can't even remember who does it. Well, DC does that playbook. We got Title. We got JSU. We got literally names everybody from 1 to like 30. And he doesn't even realize that I've been doing the playbook 3-4 days a week. So anyway, that was a little hurtful. I took, you know, as the gift, Michael Jordan gift would say, I took that personally.
I did. I will say we did it last year. I did it, I think the first month and a half of the season until I started doing the live show on Sunday during MLB season. And I remember doing it on a plane. I was flying to California for something. And it was my fault because late I realized that, hey, I'm going to be on a plane. That's a bear doing that thing because not only are you trying to look at it from the standpoint of who do I think are the best plays, but then you kind of second guess yourself because you're giving this to our members, which is, it has to be the gold standard. And it's a really tough thing to do. So Uncle T, thank you for doing that and taking that burden 3-4 days a week, because that meant that I didn't have to do it, particularly when I was on a show or writing up a slate strategy. And it really, really helpful. So Holden, get your shit together and recognize the men that are doing the bulk of the work for this site of that playbook. That's DC and Uncle T. And I think AP hits it up on weekends. So
yep. In all honesty, Yeah, appreciate that,
That's
JT.
terrible.
In all honesty, I love doing it, to be honest. I think we got a great team all around, and I'm more kidding Holden and giving it a little jab at him more than anything. But we do have a great team, and really enjoy doing that. But Holden, yeah, I've been doing the playbook since April there, bud.
You probably do the playbook on his days off.
So,
I had
if you
no
asked me,
idea
I
you
would.
do that.
Well, that would be like 3 or 4 days a week. So that'd be
Well,
quite.
that's what I'm
That would
getting
make
at.
sense as to why he doesn't.
Yeah, it
know.
all lines up. It all
Are you
lines
pap
up.
smears
3 or 4
done
days a week.
filleting each other? Can I just talk about how Uncle T tried to sabotage the show with him complaining about the
30
playbook?
seconds or less. Let's go.
No one cares about that. No one cares about that, Uncle T.
No, because you have to always stroke the same people. You
Who?
stroke the same people on the
Who?
show. JSU, Big T, AP. You name the same damn people every
I didn't
single
know you
show.
did the playbook.
They
Yeah, I
got,
He's kind of a
realize
kiss
that.
ass, isn't he? He's
That's
kind
why
of a
I'm bringing
kiss
it
ass,
up.
right? It's
Thank
like
you, Uncle T.
he kisses the ass of the bosses, and everyone
Yeah,
else he
and
just shits on. I mean,
JT, I
it.
get
I've
that.
seen
I mean,
this.
we all see
this
that.
before.
I mean, I get why he's doing it. I'm just saying, like,
This is holding what they call the self-correction, right? This corrects itself when someone doesn't recognize their peers. This is what's happening right
What
now.
happens?
Yeah.
does anybody stroke JSU more than Holden? No. And then it's probably Big T right after that. It's real close, 1A, 1B.
Well, it's because I work with them the most.
What does that have to do with anything?
I just
We
know
all
their
work
true
together.
talents compared to having to work with you. Now,
Oh,
I mean,
well, I mean,
if you want to
if you
be
wanna-
mentioned in the same sentence as Big T and JSU, are you kidding me?
You're killing. Now you're going off. Now you're going to a spot that I am not trying to get to. I'm just
No, it's
trying
exactly where you're going. You
You
want to
host-
be mentioned with the two best tournament players in the world. I'm
to.
sorry, Uncle T.
How many days a week do you do the baseball show?
Who?
That's one. First off, that's too many. We got to figure that out going forward because you shouldn't be on any. But if you're going to be on them, at least know who did the playbook that day. We're
Why
trying to
shouldn't he be on any? Why shouldn't JT
You
be
shouldn't.
on any?
I mean, Title does a great job, by the way. I'm voting for Title in front of you next year. You got it. Hey, you got it. You got
You hold it. You got to hold it on his feet.
I mean,
He doesn't
you
know what to
really
do.
didn't
He
get
didn't
me. I
expect
thought it
this
was
attack.
funny. I would go there too.
Gavitz in the
He
chat.
expected
that's
Uncle
gonna
T to
get
be
you on.
happy
Oh,
on his birthday,
listen,
excited.
Gavitz-
And instead, he got
Gavitz-
fiery, Uncle T.
JT Gavitz keeps getting me in the chat. He did it again. Like, it's the worst fucking joke, but I keep falling for it. Just like Nape last year during NBA, he'd always ask me about Diallo and Dort, except those guys were hurt every time, and I'd always fall for it. I'd read it every day. Today, you got me with Mike Latoris. Exactly. And I was just like, that's an interesting name. And then they just came at it with me. It's disgusting and immature. And they need to clean it up, Uncle T.
I'm with you on that one, Holden. I'm gonna backtrack. I'm gonna side with you on this one. I think that's bullshit. You're doing a live show right off the cuff, nothing pre-scripted or anything out, and then they do that to you. I'm with you on that.
I mean, I think it's kind of damn funny. I think it's kind of funny. Who cares? I
It
mean,
is.
that's what makes it funny. Those guys, if these guys are creative enough to pull something off like that, I mean, kudos to you. I think that's some funny shit.
Yeah, me too, actually. I really don't want them to stop doing that. I think it's
kind of like what we saw when I tweeted out the other day when Holden was coming back from the airport and he let his luggage go around the carousel a couple of times.
that
was
was funny.
classic.
That was funny, wasn't it?
That's a good joke too. I kind of like want to pull that. I want to put
so
it.
those who didn't know what we're talking about, somebody had a suction cup rubber dong basically on the carousel of the luggage rail, and it went around and around, and it was pretty funny. And I tweeted out, "Who else is waiting for Holden to come up and get his luggage?" That's funny.
I like that one. Uncle T, you challenged me to golf, is what you did. Is that correct?
I mean, I'll challenge you to pretty much.
Well, I
quite
think
a
you
few
challenged
things,
me.
but that would be at the top of my list.
I would
but-
like a triathlon with you. I would like
Oh,
to
boy.
engage in a triathlon with you sometime.
I mean,
you're going to be better at golf.
all right.
Okay. So we're going to have to pick other things. I am probably much faster than you, so we'll race. We'll do a
I mean,
100-yard dash.
Why do we have to get into anything physical? I'm
said
51 years
golf.
old.
Like
You
a-
should be able to outrun me. You're 47, and you're
That's
like
only
5'3".
4 years. That's not the reason why. The reason why is because I actually exercise.
All right.
That's
Well,
the
I mean,
reason.
how far are we running? We running how far are
We're
we
going to do a
running?
100-yard dash.
100. You won't last 100.
I do a 100-yard dash. I do
All right.
200-yard dash. Let's go.
All right, well, you got the advantage there. Okay,
All right.
so what else you want to do?
JT, G-Rizen, can you think of a third sport for us that?
Third, let's come up with like 5 or 6 or 7. I'm not
Horseshoes.
scared.
Horseshoes.
Well, he
Cornhole.
can't
It's not
win
a
that.
sport.
You can't win a cornhole.
It's not a sport.
Oh,
We
running
need to
is
have
a
us a
sport?
run pure.
Yeah,
we
in
need
the
to have us a
Olympics.
run pure hillbilly Olympics and make all kinds of little games.
In
Why
the
do you have to bring up
Olympics,
hillbilly? What's
they give
hillbilly got to
medals
do with
for it.
anything?
Well, hey, I mean, we can have it in Kentucky.
JT, you got anything else you can like? JT's seen my cornhole.
What about a duel to the death?
I asked JT a question. Could you shut up for a minute?
I think a 100-yard swim.
Oh, I would win that.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
man.
whoop
JT,
your
I can
ass, old
swim.
man.
I can swim.
All right. Yeah. Well, so can I.
Uncle
So,
Te'd come out like Rodney Dangerfield in that movie.
we're gonna do 9 holes of golf because you're gonna whoop my ass anyways. You'll know after the first hole. 9 holes of golf. We're gonna do. What else did we just say we're gonna do?
Am I going to have to fly out there? Because I know you're not allowed with that ankle monitor on. You're not allowed to really get outside of what, 5 miles?
I got one 20-ounce beer chugging. Who can slam a 20-ounce
I'm not a drinker,
beer
but I'll
chugging?
throw that on there
Uncle
too.
T. I'd give
Okay.
Uncle T the edge there because Holden's poison of choice, I don't
Correct.
think is alcohol. So
That's
It's
true.
not
That's
alcohol.
it's not a fair playing field.
That's
no,
true.
well, I think
Okay.
I
Well,
will
me
chug a
running
20.
100-yard dash isn't.
How
I
about
will
a hot
chug,
dog eating contest?
I'll chug the beer. I'll do the beer contest, but we each have to eat 20 milligrams of edibles after that and walk
Hard
a
pass.
straight line.
Hard pass. I get drug tested at work. I can't do that.
Put Uncle T in the morgue. That's not
Ah, he'd be
Yeah.
fine.
Uncle T be in bed a half hour later.
Yeah,
after
he'd
eating
take a
20
nice nap.
milligrams.
It's just a good nap, Uncle T. It's
I
good.
still have secondhand edible smell on me from G-Rizen from March.
That was pretty aggressive.
I mean, G-Rizen knows I'm just messing with. Holden, I'm telling you, G-Rizen put on a show in March when he came in. I mean, he put on a clinic drinking
Hoop tells me all
and the other.
anytime I talk to Hoop, he tells the story. I mean, it always comes up. Like his car still smells like weed from 6 months ago.
Well, I kind of thought there was more people there that might partake, and I had heard how, there's some knee houses and kind of crowd that likes to hang around, Big T's house, good times, playing some cornhole. So I thought, well, I'm not going to run out, and I'm willing to share with everybody. So I had brought me maybe between half ounce and an ounce of weed, and I had it in just a container, and it wasn't a jar. So that's why it stunk so bad, and it was kind of fresh. I got friends who grow and stuff like that. As we were talking before, I got me a nice 2 beauties in my backyard right now. But
You are
Then, Holden, to top it all off, he sits next to me at the card table from like 9 p.m. to like 3 in the morning. So 6 hours, I got to sit next to him playing cards as well.
So did you?
well, that was after I played cornhole and drank
Yeah.
30 beers.
Yeah, I got the under on 30, but you probably had about 27. I'll tell you that.
Sometimes I just marvel that most of the states of America.
We
still
had a
have
great
not
time. Holden,
legalized
why
it.
didn't you come?
To where? I wasn't invited.
I know that. That's why I want to make sure you know that you
No,
weren't
they didn't
invited.
invite me. They didn't invite me. It hurts to this
You
day.
wouldn't have come anyway, first off.
No, I wasn't gonna. go.
Right. They came, they were right by you, and he didn't come out to go see him. I mean, they're at the live event.
Yeah.
Holden could have showed off one of his pieces of arm candy, either the right arm candy or the left arm candy. He could have took it over there to see all the guys with Hoop
No.
and Big T
No.
and everybody. And you know what? I know Hoop well enough. He'd have been the first one. And well, I don't know about Big T. Uncle T talks about him being a little hesitant pulling out that credit card. But I'll tell you, Hoop always ready to throw that credit card on the table. And you know what? You could have had lunch, told your girl, order you some lobster and get you a nice fancy glass of wine that you could have called JT for some advice on if you wanted to get her some nice stuff. But, instead you sat home and worked on your tan.
JT, any thoughts on Hoop being from rich parents and that's why he is successful at DFS?
No, I don't. I think it's funny when I see people write that. I mean, I think you're. I think when you do what those guys do month after month, it's pretty impressive. I mean, it's a place where I'm just not there yet in terms of their skill level, and that's a goal for me. No, I don't think it has anything to do with their parents. Those guys are. They They do something that I think is very hard in DFS, which is they stick to their intuition and they don't get bothered by noise. I think especially when you do content, when you have so many of us, it's easy to get a little bit distracted by some of the noise, what other people think, and they're very good at not doing that, and that's a skill.
And you know what I could add to that, I went to the exact same high school as Hoop, and we lived literally across the road from each other. And you know what, I can say we grew up in a modest area. Everybody's got a 800 to 1,200 square foot ranch house. We're all side by side in subdivisions. We're just in the suburb. His parents are really cool people, average people, that I've actually drank with. His mom and dad are really fun. No, he did not come from rich parents. Hoop has grinded it out. He's been one of the first guys in the industry. And, I think about it. I think Hoop's grinded it out longer almost than anybody else, like being consistent, playing cash games as long as he has. Damn, man. Run Pier is lucky to have, we're all lucky to have a guy like that. He's seen it all. He's seen a lot more in terms of like hands of poker. He's seen a lot more hands than any of us have seen. So his knowledge and JSU, like you guys were saying, it's impressive. That's for damn sure. But no, he does not have rich parents that put him in 100K in GPPs every week.
I did find humor in that though. And we had a newsletter come out in the morning and it said, exactly that. It was a rich parents newsletter. Like, our guys only win because of the rich parents. I really wanted to call out whoever did the headline, the marketing people that did that. That was a pretty.
Well, how about, just to put a cap on that topic?
Yeah.
How about the guy that came out BigT late in the night on Twitter last night when he was screenshotting about K Fallick's big win? I think Tambo got in there to split, a bunch of ways in the millie, 1, 6, 7, 8K, whatever it was. Guy said, well, on your playbook, though, you had so-and-so as a fade, and someone's core had this guy or the running back. You know what I mean? He had 3 or 4 times. Like, all 35 coordinators aren't going to agree on every play. You know what I mean? So it's just the thing. It just goes along with the same thing about, mom being rich or parents being rich thing is everyone always wants to have a reason why someone wins at RPS or any of the sites for that matter. So.
But like we look at baseball, we talked about our baseball team. I think our baseball team is very good. I look at a lot of stuff around the industry. I think our baseball team is really solid. And, when you see 3 or 4 guys or 5 guys cores up there, I play 4 or 5 teams. You know what? If you mix in certain guys and you like their cores and you're playing different teams, like maybe Big T likes to go against something else that we all think's chalky. It never hurts to play the different opinions. Really what you need to be looking at is how we're building our teams and just learn from that instead of worrying about who we are playing. You need to watch how we're playing, is my opinion.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate that. Let's get into a little bit of football. And if anything derails us, that's absolutely fine.
Did you comb your hair for this show? It looks all.
No, it wasn't for this one. It was for the show before this.
Who are you on, with Lisa Ann?
No, I was on our baseball show, G-Rizen. Thanks for watching our shows. You don't have to be like me and Uncle T.
I didn't watch. I'll be honest.
Holden, you did a great job today.
Thanks, Uncle T. Why are you saying nice stuff to me?
You did a good job on the show today.
Just doesn't feel right.
I'm just giving you a compliment.
It's his birthday.
You know
it's
what?
His birthday. He's in a good mood.
Hold on a second. So I do need to bring this up because Uncle T said I did a nice job today. I had a listener tell me, or a subscriber tell me, that I talked about sex too much and it distracted him from the content. Okay. Uncle T is laughing right now. He goes, it's very distracting. Now I'm going to put this out there because I want to do what's best for the subscribers. And I said, and he said some mean things to me. And I said, you can't talk to me. He goes, I'm going to cancel my subscription. I says, okay, I'll pay for that subscription then. And of course, he's still here and he loves everyone. But do we need to lower the sex talk? Is it distracting or keep going? Big decision to be made on this show tonight. Uncle T.
I mean, I don't think, I mean, we're only 3 shows into the Wishbone for 2021. So I don't know that we've talked about it hardly at all on these shows, but I mean, I know you talk about it quite a bit on the other shows. So, and in Discord quite a bit. So, you know, I mean, who was it? Do you know who it was? It wasn't Slappy, was it? Slappy's burner?
I don't know who Slappy is. No.
You don't
I
know
know
who
Slappy. No,
is?
it wasn't Slappy. It wasn't Slappy. I'm not going to call the guy out here.
I'm indifferent on the topic. Why don't you go to G-Rizen and
G-Rizen,
JT,
thoughts?
two goats on the topic.
What do you think, G-Rizen?
I think America is getting to be too soft. We should be talking about whatever we want to talk about. If we think it's good conversation, we should talk about it. That's what I think.
Okay, I'm open.
We shouldn't try to push it, but I think if it comes up, it comes up. That's the way I feel about it.
JT Hayes will give me a straight answer too. All right, what am I doing here, JT Hayes? G-Rizen's always like, screw it, just keep it. It's only one person. Your thoughts. Let's get some good input and be brutally honest.
Yeah, I think it depends on who our audience is and what we're trying to do. Obviously, we're trying to entertain people.
Yeah.
And so if we have a critical topic, something that happened in your life or something that happened to Uncle T or G-Rizen or myself perhaps, then I think it's fine. So I think to start every show with, hey, did everybody get laid last night? Something like that. Maybe that's a little bit too much, but I think we all know that you live a bachelor lifestyle, and there are people that probably are interested in living a little bit vicariously through you. I don't happen to be one of those people, but maybe some listeners are like, hey, I wonder what Holden's doing. I wonder how old the girl that is coming over to his pad tonight is. Or honestly,
Yeah, we don't discriminate here. We just got to make sure.
Hey, I'm just saying,
Right.
Holden,
To be honest,
if you're bringing it up,
First of all,
Holden, if you're bringing it up and JT's bringing up good points, we have to not rule out anything. I mean, you're throwing it on the table like it may come up as a topic. Hey, we're just trying to encompass,
All right.
you know what I mean, all the possibilities. You know what I mean? You're the only bachelor on the panel.
Yeah.
And it's 2021. We have subscribers of all genders, mixed genders. And honestly, Holden, that's
Transgender, yeah.
fucking respect to you.
Right.
Yeah.
I won't hold it against you, Holden. I still think you're a good guy.
Yeah, I think it's good. I'm ready to slow down a little bit, but until I do, I'll keep it up. We'll keep having some fun here.
People want to hear about it. People want to hear about it. And the key is, how much is too much, right? So a little bit, maybe leave a little bit to the imagination.
Little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
So would you, in this point, would you want me to ask G-Rizen about, banging his wife, or would you say, let's just talk football?
I would say let's move on to another topic. We can save that for another show and let G-Rizen talk about the pleasures that he experiences at home.
If you guys want to see that, you can just go on the couples on Gone Wild and just watch it all you want. We post it all on there for you.
Do you have a couples OnlyFans
page? We got our OnlyFans page coming out. It's going to be called G-Rizen. We're going to call it the Jiggly Room or something nice like that.
I will say this. I don't know if you guys caught it. It might have been on the Sunday baseball show or the Monday show. So G-Rizen, before he was getting, I can't remember which show, but I watch all G-Rizen shows for the record.
Yeah, thank you.
Unlike you, Holden, where I miss a few. He asked his lady to bring him a couple of Modelo's, and G-Rizen, I'll let you pick it up from here because I don't want to misstep what you said. But what did you tell her when you asked her nicely to bring you 2 Modelo's?
I asked her if she'd bring me 2 Modelo's and bring them in between her boobs and bring them.
Yes. Holden missed that. I thought he would enjoy that.
Well, yeah, so I it's an outlandish request, and I kind of got that look and I wouldn't expect her to do it because they are cold. So I wouldn't expect her to do that. But, so when she turns you down, that's just a point for later when you really ask her for something else that maybe isn't as outlandish, but it is, then she might go along with it. So you got to kind of.
Holden, this is the part where you start taking notes. You get your notepad out and start taking notes.
That's sexist and unacceptable, if you ask me, to expect the woman that you live with to just be reduced to a booby beer holder is a little unacceptable, G-Rizen. And personally, if I was her, I wouldn't do that for you either.
Well, I cut the grass in a thong, and she laughs at me the whole time. So what's the damn difference?
You seriously cut the grass in a thong?
No, but I've seen a neighbor
Yeah.
do that before. He sent his wife out, and it was actually one of the funniest things I've seen in the neighborhood. But no, I wouldn't do that. I was just joking.
All right. She was mowing the lawn, or the guy?
Yeah, the neighbor across the street. She had a United States flag bikini on, and it was quite interesting.
You any good looking?
Yeah, she wasn't too bad. We had to get the zoom up on the camera through the window.
I might as well say that right now, this is a free show for subscribers and non-subscribers. So let me just remind you, RPS Heater 25, 25% off your first month's payment. But I got something more important than that. Apparently, people have been watching on YouTube. And we think we're a pod, but a lot of people have been watching on YouTube. While you're at it, there's a little red button up there on the screen that says subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. We really appreciate that. Like the video, and that's all we got to say. Who wants to take the first question? Because I want to know about Justin Fields this week. I want to know the rushing floor for
Holden, do we get, before we talk football, because I know that Big T has brought it up to me and made it perfectly clear that he does listen to the Wishbone.
Mm-hmm.
However, when we get done with the bullshit part of the show, which is right about now, he said he turns it off, which is very hurtful. First off, he said he likes to listen to the first 15, 20, 25 minutes when we just sit around and bullshit, and then he doesn't listen. So do you guys have any interest? JT, you in a hurry tonight? I don't worry about G-Rizen. JT, I thought we were going to talk about the golf match briefly, about Mangone and everything. Nobody has any
start talking about it, man.
There you go. I wasn't there.
I do have a question, though. I got a question about this little golf matchup, because I guess we kind of make a little bit clear here. So Uncle T, I called him up, and he said they went to that golf trip, and I saw all the scores on Twitter that was posted. And they were reasonably high for a course, but Uncle T called me. We were talking on the phone. He's like, "Listen, buddy, that was one of the toughest courses I've ever played. It was 7,100 yards, which is pretty long." So, yeah. So, I guess at that length, playing 7,100 yards, shooting a mid 50, low 50 score isn't that bad, actually.
I'll give it the Reader's Digest version here, Holden, because I know you're getting antsy.
No, I'm not getting antsy. I'm not getting antsy at all. I'm happy.
So Mangone was passing through on his way from New Jersey to Colorado, and he stayed at Big T's. He was Big T's fourth kid for a few days, and Big T treated him like his his second son. But anyway, we go to this course. So Rubio, we go to this course that Rubio used to work at. Real nice course, Triple Crown. It's out in Richwood here in Kentucky, one of the nicer courses around here. So he says, okay, we'll play from the tips, which is all the way from the back as far as it'll play. I'm like, fine, no problem. So he thinks that's going to help him, first off, which it, clearly didn't. But so we bring Mangone in. So the only match we had was Rubio said, well, I'll play you match play instead of stroke play. He said this on the golf show last Wednesday night. Running his mouth. He was in the simulator. He's got a simulator at his house. He was posting videos of him hitting in the simulator with his girlfriend and building it up like he was going to kick Uncle T's ass. So we get to the course, and I said, well, why don't we just play stroke play and match play? We'll play 100 on each one. He said, okay, fine. So anyway, Uncle T is he's up 4 through 5 and up 5 through 6. So I'm 5 up through 7 holes. He's demoralized. He goes off the 8th green. He's driving with Mangone. He walks away, goes up to the golf cart before we're even off the green putting. That's how upset he was. I saw a couple tears maybe. He was upset. Mangone was worried about him. So anyway, make long story short, it was a very long course, 7,100 yards. I shot a 51.49. I shipped both giblets, the match play and the stroke play. Mangone played 6 holes without shoes. So he borrowed Grandpa's golf shoes before he left New Jersey. I guess he didn't have any golf shoes. So those lasted like 2 holes. He felt the whole soles of them fell out. So he had to play 6 holes till we got to the turn, went in and got a brand new pair of golf shoes, ran out of balls because he kept hitting them in the water. So anyway, Mangone would have shot 150 probably if we'd have counted all his strokes. But anyway, Holden, I'm going to leave it at that. Rubio got his ass kicked, and that's all there is to it.
Well, there's a chunk of our lives we're never getting back, gentlemen. Well, Uncle T, actually, let's adjust on the fly here. So your nephew says he turns it off after we bullshit. What if we just bullshit the whole show and talk 2 minutes of football? Is that a direction we should go? Or do you think, what is JT Hayes going to do, though, if we don't talk much football? We need to get JT Hayes involved in this program.
I've been involved. What are you talking about? That is disgraceful. I've been involved. I was talking.
I feel like sometimes
I'll talk more.
Checking out. I feel like just sometimes you're looking at your computer or just checking out, not listening, not really being into it. Is that true, JT Hayes?
No, I'm listening to every word. I mean, I did take a just a quick nap during Uncle T's story, but I'm back now and I'm good. I'm sorry, Uncle T.
I'll make
I love
up
you.
for
I know
it.
it's your birthday. I don't mean to be hurtful, but that was kind of like, you need to have a hook there. I didn't know what the hook there was until the very end. And it was kind of a meandering. I know it's you probably had maybe a nice glass of wine for the birthday, and it just but we're all good.
I mean, I guess since we bring it up, it's your birthday. I mean, the question is, has the workbench birthday time happened yet, or is it going to happen later?
Pretty decent chance later, G-Rizen, but right now I haven't seen my wife all day. We got opposite schedules. My daughter had a volleyball game, so she's not even home yet. So
that's birthday, is it not?
Workbench. I mean, birthday
G-Rizen,
workbench
if that's going to be a yes, it's going to have to be after the show. So,
all right. Well, see, got to have some birthday workbench time.
As opposed to
I
what,
would like to
during
talk-
the show?
what's that?
As opposed to what, during the show? When else would it have to happen?
I mean,
That'd be an entertaining twist.
yeah.
I mean,
That'd be crazy, man.
yeah, I mean, you'd be getting your video camera out pretty quick, but I mean,
Uncle T, do you shower? Do you shower beforehand?
do I shower? I
Yeah,
try
man.
to shower every day, don't you?
No. Do you shower beforehand, before the act of copulation?
No. Is this a trick question?
No. Do you shower beforehand, or do you just go in there just
Let's talk
caveman?
football.
Huh?
Let's talk football.
G-Rizen,
What's that?
caveman or shower before the act?
Oh, I mean, it depends what we're totally going on, but most times, I mean, I'm not taking the time to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's too much damn time to waste.
Yeah, I got to shower.
Well, I mean, when you don't leave your house like you don't for like, you probably take what, three showers a week. So when a girl comes
Probably
over, you got to
4.
take a shower. Yeah.
Or
So
unless I'm seeing a
you know.
girl, then I'll take one. So maybe like
Yeah,
5
I
or
mean,
6
hey.
times a week.
I don't blame you. I mean, you leave you're leaving the remnants on you for like 2 days after or what? Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So, hey, that you be you.
I'm not even gonna ask JT Hayes because he might beat the shit out of me. So yes, let's do the football thing. Can I ask you about Justin Fields now, Uncle T? What do you think of
Yes.
Justin? He's gonna end up starting. I mean,
It's a great question, Holden. It's going
Thank
to lead
you.
the show off. Yep. No, but Justin Fields came in, against my Bengals last week when Dalton got hurt. I didn't necessarily like what I saw. I know it was a very small sample and everything, but I mean, he rushed 10 times for 31 yards. He was 6 of 13 with an interception, got sacked twice. I don't know if it's going to be very good for him going forward. If Dalton's out 2 to 3 weeks or so, it looks like that's what he's going to be out. I don't know. I mean, they go into Cleveland this week and play the Browns, who are also banged up. If OBJ doesn't play again, Landry got hurt. I mean, I look for Cleveland to get that running game really going. I really like Nick Chubb and even Hunt this week, possibly. If those guys are out, I mean, you could look and say, Cleveland could have some cheap wide receivers if both of those guys aren't playing, like the Peoples Jones or whatever the hell his name is. He'll be cheap.
Jones.
Yeah, guys like that. They'll be cheap and everything. But to get back to Fields, I just think it's going to be tough for him. I'm kind of maybe a contrarian take. I'm not a big Fields guy. Like most people in the industry are wanting to get him out there, and I'm sure he's a nice kid, got some talent for sure. I don't think he's going to be as good as other people think he will be, but I just think it's a tough spot for him. When he came into the game, A-Rob really kind of I think he would take a downtick on my big board as far as wide receivers, if you will, with him at quarterback as opposed to Dalton, at least right now. I think Fields will be looking to run the moment he gets any pressure, like most of those running quarterbacks do. So that's kind of how I feel about it.
JT Hayes, can we get 50 rushing yards out of Justin Fields this week?
You probably can against the Browns. I don't know what that gets you in the big scheme of things. That might be a nice prop there, but I think Uncle T hit the nail on the head because I actually had a ton of Allen Robinson last week. And as soon as Dalton went out, it was a pretty tough scene for Allen Robinson and the passing core. He ended up targeting Darnell Mooney quite a bit, which was sort of disturbing. He's interesting. Like 5.2 is what his price is on DraftKings. That's what I was looking up before when you started talking about him. And on a 13-game slate, I just don't know that he's got the ceiling to get you in the mix of where you need to be.
Okay. G-Rizen, Justin Fields.
Yeah, I think the kids, you just wonder when you're watching him. I think he's just going to kind of look through one progression and maybe just to kind of start taking off and start running. It makes you wonder, other than the first receiver, maybe like a Cole Kmet, how many guys he's really going to be able to look at. I think the 50 rushing yards, like JT said, might not be a bad prop just because I think he's going to be so quick to pull it down and then take off running. I think the Browns have a great defensive line. I mean, it's going to be tough for him. It's going to be tough sledding for him. So we'll see what happens. I actually like the Bengals quite a bit. I spent some time earlier today kind of looking over at all these lines and, just knowing what Big T likes to say. And a lot of us, like to look at, them 8.5 point spreads that you can dip down to 2.5. And there was a few of them today I thought were interesting that were right around those lines. So I spent some times today dipping them down to like 2.5 and 2. So, but yeah, I wasn't a fan of that game, the whole Bears game today. But Fields, I think JT's right. There's really no upside there for Fields. I don't think he can compete with, the Kyler Murrays and the Tom Bradys and the guys that are putting up some pretty big numbers at this point.
He's $3,000 less though. But that to me would be a 150 play if you're going to be in that. So who are you on? You're on Burrow, G-Rizen? You like a little Burrow against the Steelers?
No, just kind of looking around at some of these games. I mean, you look at some of these over-unders. I mean, there's some really good games this week that I know I'm interested to see. I can't wait to watch. There's a game at 4:00 we can get to later, obviously, with this guy here playing against
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, or the Rams. So I think that's going to be awesome. But at this point, I kind of like that Kansas City and Charger game. I mean, we're in Kansas City. Kansas City is, they're a damn machine when they're at home. I mean, the Chargers are going to probably be able to keep up. I think that's going to be a pretty high-scoring game. I think Baltimore is going to have their way with the Lions. They're going to be able to run silly on them. So I don't mind that at all either. But, yeah, I think quarterback, I'm kind of looking at that Charger-Kansas City game. That game looks pretty juicy.
All right, what do you want to do, Uncle T? What do you want to do here? What's your top game you're digging into as the week starts?
Yeah, I do have one quarterback that – we'll get to the games, and there's some good games, but if you were talking about Justin Fields down there, what was he at 5,200? If I'm going to go down there again, it's Tuesday, like we always say. We're just kind of, glancing at these for the first time, but I kind of like me a little bit of Daniel Jones against Atlanta at 5,800. I'd probably, even though it's a $600 difference, I don't mind if I'm going to dip down outside of the Murrays and the Jacksons and Lamar and Wilson, those top guys. If I'm going to dip down, I don't necessarily mind a 5,800 Daniel Jones. He's put up a couple good games. He's got weapons up there. Again, these guys, when we're playing them, they don't have to win the game. We want them to get back, get down 14, 17 points where they throw the ball. I kind of like Daniel Jones down there as far as that goes. But as far as games I'm targeting, G-Rizen mentioned it. That Rams-Bucks game at 4 o'clock, right now I'm seeing the Rams at a 1 or 1.5 point favorite, total of 55, 55.5. It's the first time I can remember in a while. I mean, I'm sure it happened last year, but it could be the last time all year, even though it's going to be a slight underdog, that Tampa Bay will be a dog. And if the Bucks are going to maybe get knocked off, as crazy as it sounds, I think it'll get, they'll get knocked off early in the season here. And this could be one of those spots. Matt Stafford has looked tremendous the first couple of weeks in LA. I really like this team. Cooper Kupp has gone crazy. And the reason I know that is because I played Robert Woods the first 2 weeks, similar to, I was listening to the early show with Hoop and Title recapping week 2. And they were talking about, the Lockett and Metcalf situation. I'm 0 for 2 there as well. I've played Metcalf the first 2 weeks. Lockett has gone off. But I'm going to stick by my guns. I'm going to continue to try to play Robert Woods, and I'm going to continue to try to play DK Metcalf. And if it doesn't work out for me, at some point I will make an adjustment. But to get back to the game, I really like that one, Holden. And then also the Seattle at Minnesota game, also a 4 o'clock game. And again, those are going to be the popular games. We're not, telling you something you don't already know and won't know by Sunday. But I really like that Seattle-Minnesota game to shoot out as well. Minnesota should have won that game in Arizona on Sunday, missed that short field goal at the end. They played a lot better in week 2 than they did in week 1 here in Cincinnati.
JT Hayes, what are you looking at here? What's the game you're interested in?
I think I'll start with just a couple of things that Uncle T said, and same page that I've been on, that I was on Sunday, which was I was on the DK Metcalf train, and I looked because I was like, all right, how did I get this wrong? And I see that DK Metcalf got the same number of targets as Tyler Lockett. He just didn't do all that much with them. Got 11 targets apiece. He's actually cheaper than Lockett this week, I think, and Woods. 9 targets last week, didn't do a whole bunch with them, and he got a couple of rushing opportunities as well. So I think this is really interesting spot for both Woods and Lockett in their respective matchups. Woods just 5'7", and I think, I think Uncle T is right. I think people are gonna panic and say, all right, clearly it's Kupp and clearly it's Lockett, and I think if you go the other way this week, I think it's going to be pretty profitable. I think there's some interesting. You guys talked about obviously the Kansas City and Los Angeles Charger game. There's 3 quarterbacks up top that are in really, really good spots in Kyler Murray against Jacksonville. I mean, this defense has been shredded by the likes of Tyrod Taylor and Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, it's an interesting spot for him, maybe even more so for Chase Edmonds, who got 13 touches last week. Jacksonville shredded again by running backs. You've got Lamar. You guys talked about it. G-Rizen talked about Lamar Jackson at the Lions, and then Russ in that matchup against the Vikings. But I agree with Uncle T about Daniel Jones. 1, he's looked good. 2, the Falcons' defense has looked anything but. And if you're looking for a cheap quarterback, it's got to be Daniel Jones. You have to have interest in him, and the receiving core for the Giants against a defense that just does not have and will not have this season the skill position players to compete, I don't think, in many games. So I think those are interesting spots. And then this Tennessee-Indiana game with what's looking like an injury to Carson Wentz is pretty interesting. You obviously have Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines against a very, very porous defense. Jacob Eason at 4K, as I think about it right now, I don't have a ton of interest in him. But maybe the Tennessee defense at just 2.4 on DraftKings is an interesting spot against Jacob Eason and a very banged up Indianapolis offense. So a lot of interesting spots here. And then one last thing, because I was on him week 1, I was not on him last week. He still continues to get the targets. We're waiting for that breakout game, that welcome to the NFL game for Kyle Pitts at 4.9 against the Giants defense. Kind of like him a lot this week.
I love the Daniel Jones call. It's really, really frustrating to roster him, but he is the fourth highest point total through 2 weeks on FanDuel. So he's putting up the points, man. He's not going to get you a 300-yard bonus, but you know what? Could he get you 300-yard bonus this week? Huh?
He could get you that this week, but you also don't need the bonus with his rushing capability. And especially that plays well on FanDuel as well, because there is no bonus. So you talked about his FanDuel points. I mean, you got a guy who, forget about Justin Fields and his, can he get 50 yards? Daniel Jones can get you to the 100 and 300-yard bonuses on DraftKings this week against this Falcons defense.
Can I ask you guys something real quick? I mean, sorry, just because I'm a FanDuel guy, I look at this thing, and Daniel Jones is like 7,400. He's like around Herbert, Haber, or whatever you want to call him. Brady's only a couple hundred more. Cousins a couple hundred more. I mean, do you guys? I mean, I can see it if he's way lower priced on DK, but it seems like he's kind of in the mid-level. I mean, you guys okay with that? Like,
yeah, because nobody's going to own him on FanDuel.
Yep.
Fair enough. I mean,
I just top 5 score at that price.
You've got to take a look. I look at matchups more than anything else, and like I said, DK hurt me badly this week because I went almost all in on him. But that being said, when you look at matchups and you look at the points that the Falcons give up to the quarterback position, then you add on top of that a quarterback who can scramble and run and who looks to rush. They have some design plays for him to rush. He's not the same caliber as Kyler Murray, but would you play Kyler Murray against the Falcons? You absolutely would, 100%. This defense isn't capable of stopping any quarterback, and their second week on the road. They just played a sort of tight game. It was tight through 2.5 quarters against the defending Super Bowl champion Buccaneers. Now they go outside of their division, second game on the road. I don't like what I see out of Matt Ryan so far. I know that he had a decent game in Tampa Bay, but yeah, I think I like Daniel Jones quite a bit this week.
You like Daniel Jones quite a bit. The other game, so I wonder.
Holden. Can I finish up real quick on a quick thought on the Giants thing before you go on? Sorry, and it's not to kind of belabor the whole point here with Daniel Jones and that he's just a smash play. But I look at Sterling Shepard. He was 5,100. He was 5,500. He's 5,900. So he's gone up a little bit. But you know what? He's had 19 targets in 2 weeks, and maybe he's developing a little bit of more of a rapport with Daniel Jones here in this new year. And this was going up against the Denver defense that I respect a lot, and then also in Washington. So if you're telling me, again, very small sample, so we're not getting, crazy here, but in 2 tough matchups, I think defensively for him, he's put up 2 really good games. And if you're telling me, again, you compare him with Shepard and I don't know, I just feel like if you're going to spend down, he's going to be one of my favorite plays this week.
Your favorite plays as they spend down. Kyler against Jacksonville. What do we want to do here? I mean, is this a no-brainer? I think the pairing of Kyler to Rondale Moore without D-Hop was excellent last week. That was my best finish throwing them together, and they went off. I don't think you can do that every week. Maybe this is the week D-Hop goes off. Probably is, as a matter of fact. But everybody could go off for them. Any of you guys want to start with Kyler and this Arizona offense at Jacksonville?
I think there's a limit to the ceiling in this matchup just because of how much more talented Arizona is than Jacksonville. And that's why, I mean, it's intriguing. You see Kyler coming off a huge game at home against Minnesota, and now they go to take on Jacksonville that looks completely lost. So that's why I mentioned Edmonds at 5'7", 13 touches last week. He had a good enough game at his price, but he didn't get into the box, and they didn't need him to get into the box, although it was a close game. So this week, I do think because of what we've seen out of this Jacksonville defense, I do think it's a game where more so you see Arizona having a pretty substantial lead and using Edmonds later in the game, and maybe he gets a chance to break one later in the game. That's just 5'7". I think he's one of my favorite lower price running backs this week.
Okay. G-Rizen, any thoughts on Kyler and the rest of that offense in Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, Kyler Murray, obviously, he's been one of the best quarterbacks. Seems like every time I look at the top of tournaments, it's Kyler Murray is involved. So, but to me, I think if you're going to stack them, the only thing is I think you can actually stack Hopkins and Moore with Murray if you want, but I would never stack Kirk and Moore. I would either do one or the other moving forward. I think one or the other is going to have a big game that could be also parlayed with Hopkins having a big game. So, but just looking at Arizona, yeah, Kyler Murray, like you guys said, he's going to be one of these guys here that is going to be on the cover of video games pretty soon because that kid's pretty good.
Pretty good. He's pretty good. Yeah, I like it.
Pretty good.
So, Uncle T, any thoughts on Arizona? And then I want each one of you just to talk about whatever the hell team or player that you're into, okay? So, Uncle T, Arizona, Kyler, and after that, just try and throw out something that's just been on your mind about the slate or maybe a player or a team.
Yeah, my thoughts on the Arizona situation. I had 6 builds last week. I had 3 of them with Herbert, and I had 3 of them with Kyler Murray. And my Murray stack had Rondale Moore and actually had Derrick Henry. And I was looking terrible, and I actually got through the cash line, obviously. But I had a couple total blanks in with that pairing, so I ended up doing pretty good. But as far as Murray, he had a similar price last week. He was at home against Minnesota, 8,200. JT brings up some really good points and some things that may keep me away from this Arizona game altogether this week is I know it's only shown as a 7.5-point favorite right now on the road in Jacksonville. I think Arizona gets up in this game, 17, 20-3, 24-3, 24-6, something like that. And they kind of go to the ground. And that's where maybe that Chase Edmonds, the Edmonds call may come in, JT, where I think he's going to get a lot more carries, probably more in the second half when they're maybe trying to salt this big lead away. Again, I could be totally wrong, but we talk about on these shows all the time, you have to go with game theory and a game script. And I think the game script in this game this week is Arizona gets up. They don't need to throw the ball that much. So I'm going to probably be off this game, Holden, but if I do take some pieces of it, it would be what JT said. I really like the Edmonds call.
Okay.
And then as far as just kind of looking at the slate overall, you mentioned to bring a couple guys up, and I'm looking at that game in Chicago or in Cleveland against Chicago, and I think it's obviously dependent on who's going to be in, who's going to be out. If Fields is in, which it clearly looks like he is going to be, and if OBJ and Landry both don't play, I just think it's an interesting game, really, if you think about it, right? Both teams missing some key pieces. I think Montgomery on the one side, kind of could have a big game. I do respect the Browns defense, but if I'm the Browns too, I may load the box and force Fields to throw the ball, which is clearly probably what they'll do. But I already mentioned earlier in the show, I really love the running game here from Cleveland, especially if those two guys are out. So again, I could go to the 4:00 games and really, kind of give you some stuff there as far as, again, I like 2 of those games at the 4:00 slate. But the interesting thing for me is probably maybe the situation in Cleveland and Chicago there to see who's going to play and whether or not we can maybe get a couple of these guys in a good game situation.
Well, I'm thinking about Fields. I'm wondering how much read option they're going to run, because it's possible that game just gets mucked up. It's really ugly, and there's just a lot of running. And David Montgomery gets a lot of running, and Fields gets a lot of running. And, they're still going to throw the ball. You have to throw the ball. But that's one way that game could go, I suppose. The other thing to look at in that game, and JT, I just want to bring this up and obviously get your thoughts after that. But Baker has been targeting his tight ends more than anything. Now Jarvis Landry is gone. But my God, he's – let me see here. You got the 2 highest targeted tight ends, I believe. No, that can't be right. Well, Hooper had 8 targets last week, 8 targets this year, and Njoku has 8 targets this year. So both of them, you know what it was? They lead the team in targets. They lead the Browns in targets with 8 over 2 games. I'll just throw it out there. I think this could be a way to go. The only thing is there's a little bit of a timeshare, but Austin Hooper in the red zone. One interesting name I wanted to bring up from this game. I don't know what the ceiling really is, but at 3.6, he can get you some other stuff. And if he does hit pay dirt, you're set.
So in terms of, you mentioned early on when you were talking about this game, it could get ugly. It could get mucked up. They may run read option. You've got essentially a rookie quarterback making his first start, assuming Dalton misses. It kind of points me to the Cleveland defense, to be honest. Makes me a little bit interested in the Cleveland defense, more so than any pieces of this offense. And then, the Bears defense looked, surprisingly good last week against the Bengals right until the very end of the game. I don't know if I would go with them, but you bring up a good point. Maybe even though they shut down Joe Mixon pretty well last week, maybe this is a scenario where I do think you have to be looking at this game and looking at the snaps and looking at where are the targets going to go without OBJ and without Landry. I think people will play Peoples-Jones. I think if Higgins is in there, I think people will play him. And in reality, you could see a lot more Kareem Hunt out of the backfield against this Chicago defense. And, Nick Chubb, you could see a situation where they just try and grind clock out of this game, because I do think you're right. It's certainly potential to be a very ugly game that isn't necessarily the best target for us in DFS. Again, first look on Tuesday. I think a lot of these other spots are probably more obvious as well. But for me right now, it's going to be a little bit difficult to pick out who do I want to target on either side of this game.
Good. Okay. So what else? What else are you thinking here this week number 3? Anything you learned? Any teams you want to talk about? Players you want to get into?
Yeah, I think what's going to be interesting too is the Raiders get a home matchup against the Dolphins. Tua, not surprisingly, injured again, left that game last week early. And if he misses, it's going to be Jacoby Brissett. And in a road game, in a road environment where the Dolphins defense, which was supposed to be really good coming into the season, decent week 1 against the Patriots, absolutely terrible in week 2. Really interesting spot here for the Raiders, who surprisingly, at least for me, went on the road in Pittsburgh and come out of there with a road win to start 2-0. So I think that's an interesting spot. This Tennessee spot where it looks like you may get Jacob Eason for Indianapolis. That's pretty interesting. And then Dalvin Cook against Seattle. Cook did not do a whole lot against Arizona last week, but obviously we could not miss what Derrick Henry did against this defense in Seattle. And Dalvin Cook priced all the way down at 8.4K on DraftKings in a pretty interesting spot there against Seattle.
Okay. G-Rizen, let's get to you here, buddy. What are you doing? What are you doing this week? Who's your player? Who's your team?
Well, I can't believe we spent as much time in that shitty Cleveland-Chicago game with all these nice games we have on the slate. But for me, though, I'm looking at a couple things. One, Detroit's giving up a shitload of points. They're constantly giving up points. So, I'm looking at Baltimore on the road. So, I like Lamar Jackson, and I'm going to pay attention to that running back situation. I'm going to guess, either Tyson Williams or Murray is going to end up getting most of those totes. But even a guy like Sammy Watkins or Marquise Brown, you get them fairly cheap. And if you want to bounce it back on the other side, you could obviously throw in Hawkinson. Baltimore hasn't been very good against the tight end here so far this year. So I think Hawkinson's in a really good spot, probably get a lot of looks. So I don't mind that at all. And then pairing it around with some other key pieces. But I do like that Baltimore game there. And then, like we were saying with Kansas City, I like the Chiefs when they're at home. I'm going to play the Chiefs when they're at home. So I'm going to look at, pairing up some of these pass catchers, Mahomes. And then I'm not going to be afraid to pair up 2 of them. I don't know how many times we keep seeing a Hardman or a Robinson or even I've seen Pringle, they're running down the side of the field, scoring a touchdown. So, obviously Kelsey's really special, but, you can even bounce it back with a guy like Mike Williams or somebody like that. Obviously Keenan Allen's always getting 12 plus targets. So I think that's one of my favorite games. Like I said, the Chiefs game. So I'm looking at them 2 games at this point. But I did want to bring up something last night as a Lions fan. But can any of you guys take Aaron Rodgers serious with that goofy-ass hair he's got? Like if I had a really good buddy who was really successful and then I hadn't seen him for like a summer and he came over and he looked like Aaron Rodgers and had a man, but I'd be thinking, what the hell's wrong with this dude? I mean, like, can you guys take that guy serious or what?
I'm not going to come on the Wishbone podcast and call out Aaron Rodgers if that's what you're asking. So,
I mean, I'm just saying his hair. I can't take him serious. I mean, you see him there in his hair. I mean, he looks like he's 12 years old trying to get his locks to curl up on the bottom of his helmet or something. I mean,
I thought you wanted to talk about good football, not fucking hair. Since
there you go, Holden.
For talking about a bad football game.
There's another way to look at that, right? And the other way to look at that is here's a man who's reached the point of his life and his profession where he could do whatever the fuck he wants.
That's right.
And does not care. And I find that impressive. And on the flip side, I have a question for G-Rizen because I get the appeal of the Kansas City and the Charger game. I really do. And I am interested in it. But on a 13-game slate, are you going to try and decide which one of the Kansas City playmakers outside of Hill, Kelsey, Mahomes gets the targets? I mean, is that a guessing game that you want to engage in? Asking seriously on a 13-game slate, because I think a lot of people, as I didn't play that showdown on Sunday night, a lot of people were like, oh, Jesus, here we go, because it was just not what you expected. I mean, Byron Pringle, captain, ended up winning it. Split like 6-7 ways. So how do you go about that? I mean, you see, obviously you expect a bounce back from Hill against this defense, but outside of those three, it's kind of hard on a slate like this to try and predict a Robinson or a Pringle or even Clyde Edwards-Helaire if he ever sees the field again.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, truthfully, I don't even normally would stack against the Chargers. I think the Chargers are pretty good defensively, but to me, the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and they're going to keep scoring at home. But, you look at all these teams in the NFL, you got that kind of question, flipping a coin with different players in the offense. Like we talked about Seattle, Arizona with Kirk and Moore are going to be a flip. I mean, I think a lot of those teams are in that kind of mode. So a lot of times if I'm committed, we talk about taking conviction. If I'm committed to a team like Kansas City and I'm playing 5 teams, let's say, and I kind of try to spread it out on what I'm playing on each team and maybe mix them up in different things. If maybe I have 3 teams with Kansas City and I do mix in, maybe one with a Hardman and maybe throw in, one of the other guys and maybe stay consistent and take a stand on a guy like Hill and Kelsey and just kind of maybe move some of the other guys around. I mean, that's what I would do if I feel real good about it, so I don't miss out on it all. But yeah, I think there's a lot of that though, actually, across the NFL. It seems like even more so now we're finding that with running back, which is so damn tilting. I mean, a lot of people had Chubb last week and shit. I think the first 2 touchdowns the Browns scored weren't even Chubb or Hunt. It was like, what's going on here? I mean, that's like one of the most tilting thing too, when you're on a running back and then his damn backup struts his ass in there and gets over the goal line. That's just so annoying.
Andy Janovich.
Right.
The game I'm looking at, I think it's going to get overshadowed because it's in that 4:00 window with Tampa Bay and the Rams. I like Seattle again this week. I mean, you're going to Minnesota, nice indoor place. Russell's on the road. Minnesota, maybe they try and establish the run. I want to know the status of Dalvin Cook, though. He was hurt. I don't know if he's injured. He was hurt. He was really banged up in that last game. But you've got some high-powered wide receivers here. I'm going back to DK this week. He was targeted 11 times last week. Now, Freddie Swain got a ton of targets too. But he's force-feeding Metcalf right now. Well, Freddie went 5 for 5, hit that big touchdown, and then Lockett at 11. I mean, DK is going to get the looks in the red zone. I don't think I really want to go past Russell and DK. Do I really want to stack him and Lockett, hoping that both of them have a big game? I'm not so sure. I'm not sure about the run back with Minnesota, but right now I'm pretty damn sure Uncle T, I'm going to have some Russ Wilson and some DK Metcalf. Could you go back there?
Yeah, I was kind of listening and pulling some things up while you were talking about the game. From a DFS standpoint, obviously there's a lot of fantasy goodness in this game. I'm definitely going to go like JT and I talked about a little while ago. I'm going back to DK Metcalf for sure. I really like this game a lot. And from a bet standpoint, and again, I know it's a DFS show, but I kind of like Minnesota in this game. They're a 1.5 or a 2-point underdog here. Obviously, Seattle is very good and a very good road team, and they have been. I think Seattle is a good team, maybe not. You know what I mean? I don't think Minnesota is as bad as their 0-2 record. They played a poor game against the Bengals. They basically, I wouldn't say outplayed Arizona, the Cardinals, tremendously in that game, but they definitely on the road should have won that ball game. You know, you got a 35-yard field goal. So what I'm getting at is I like this game a lot from a DFS standpoint. And from a betting standpoint, I think I might take the short dog here in the Vikings to get their first win on at home.
Ooh, okay.
You know what, too? I kind of like what Uncle T said. I was looking at that. There's no way Minnesota's going 0-3. They're going to be really focused. They're at home. And I saw that 2 points today, and I dipped where I was talking about some of them other games. I dipped it up to 8 and locked it in with a couple other teams. I don't think Minnesota is going to – there's no way. I think they have 2 losses by less than 3 points, I think, combined.
Yeah. Yeah, and I respect Seattle quite a bit. And again, they've been one of the better road teams in the last couple of years in the NFL. So it's definitely a little bit of danger if you take this from what we're talking about here. But I'm with G-Rizen, though. I just don't think the Vikings are going to go. And JT, do you have a hot take on that at all, or are you on board, or you think Seattle will go in there and get it done?
It's interesting, right? Because Seattle just lost in a close game at home to Tennessee. So you got an 0-2 Vikings team, their first game, a loss in overtime in Cincinnati. They did start on the road, right? 2 games on the road. Now they get their home opener. They welcome in Seattle. So for both of these teams, it's not a must-win game in week 3, but it's an important game for both teams, with Seattle at 1-1 and Minnesota obviously 0-2. So I've kind of leaned towards the home team. I mean, Holden's right. Cook did get injured, and then he did come back in that game
Twice.
Yeah. So, but this is a guy where I've made the mistake before, where he looks like that, and then he gets priced down, and I'm like, oh no, he's hurt. And he's just these running backs, some of these top end running backs, him and Henry in particular, they have down games like that. I think it's a mistake to look away from him. Not saying go all in, but I don't care if he's questionable until Sunday morning. In this matchup, he's got upside. So I think that's interesting.
And I think this game stays close too, right, guys? No matter which way it goes, I don't think either team's going to blow the other out. You had Derrick Henry. Again, the game went into overtime, but he had 35 carries last week. If you're telling me that Dalvin Cook, let's just say he gets 25 carries at that price point from a DFS standpoint, and again, if he's fully healthy, clearly. But I like Dalvin Cook at that price point. And like I said, I think, Seattle didn't do a very good job, last week. And I think it could continue this week. And I really like the Vikings in this spot.
Okay. Any other games you guys want to bring up before we get out of here? This is the longest episode of the Wishbone we've ever had, officially. Too bad Tony hasn't been listening for an hour. What'd you say, G-Rizen?
It's Uncle T's birthday. We're just happy to be here with him. We're enjoying our time with some friends here. That's all we're doing there, buddy.
Holden, let me bring up one more game and and then we can get out of here. The Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game. Did you guys get a report on Ben Roethlisberger? I thought maybe there was a report that he's banged up and may not play.
He's banged up. He will play.
Okay, he will play. Okay.
Yeah.
And not that that's huge, but that game could be an interesting game as well. Now, I'm not saying it's got sneaky shootout potential, but Cincinnati clearly has pieces on the offensive side to get it done. Now, Pittsburgh, you don't ever want to attack their defense. I get it. But I don't know. I mean, I could see taking some pieces of this game if you needed, some one-off or some filler pieces of your lineup. Cincinnati gives up some points, right? So, you could be looking at maybe Najee Harris if you think, if you think Pittsburgh gets up and kind of runs the ball. I don't mind Najee Harris. He played a little bit better last week, a lot better than week 1. So I don't know. Just wanted to bring it up, see if you guys had a take on it. Right now, Pittsburgh's a 4.5-point favorite. They've owned the Bengals the last 8-10 years. I think the Bengals have beaten them like 3 times in 10 years. So I don't know, just another game that if you needed some filler pieces to your lineup, I can see where both sides of this, you could grab a piece or two.
Is it still a chippy type rivalry between the two? I mean, you're the Bengal fan. Is it still chippy?
I don't think it is from the player standpoint as much. You know, you got a lot of different pieces. You got Burrow, you got the 3 new receivers, right? AJ Green's gone. Mixon's been there a little bit, you know, and you got, for the most part, newer guys on the Pittsburgh teams other than Big Ben. So I don't know if it's as much that. It's been the Steelers owning the Bengals is what I'm more or less getting at. And there could be – it's only a 44 total. I kind of like Pittsburgh's side with adding some pieces or maybe some filler pieces more than the Bengals. But if the Bengals are going to get behind, heck, Jamar Chase has got a long touchdown in each of the first 2 weeks. He was really upset with the offensive coordinator at the end of the game that they didn't start throwing the ball down the field more. And I think they're looking to maybe get the ball down the field more to Higgins and to Jamar Chase to at least give them a chance to make some plays. And when they've thrown the ball to Jamar Chase, it's a 2-week sample, but boy, he hasn't disappointed. He shows what kind of upside he can bring if they start opening up the offense a little bit. But they can't open up the offense until they protect Burrow. Right now, Bengals offensive line can't protect Burrow.
I am waiting for Chase's longest reception prop to come out because I hit it last week, 21.5. I think he's just a deep threat. You're going to get it. Like he's getting at least 2 opportunities downfield. He's probably going to grab one of them. And it's very early in his career, but I feel very, very good about that. All right, boys.
You know what, Holden, real quick,
Yeah,
you mentioned that prop. I like that prop. That's a good prop. And then another prop I think I'd bring up is those Detroit running backs. So, I mean, the first 2 weeks they had 20 targets between Swift and Williams. I think they're going to be down to Baltimore. So if you look at them props for those running backs, both of them, their receiving yards and their receiving catches, they're like around 3.5, and their receiving yards are only like 30, you know. So, I mean, damn, they only got to break a 1 or 2. I mean, they had 20 receptions, 20 targets. I mean, the last week, even though last night it was kind of a closer game, and but Swift at the end, that's what I'm talking about. He got that whole prop there in that last drive with the receiving prop. So I think that's another strong prop to look at, especially early before everybody bets it up.
All right.
One last point on Uncle T's talk about the Bengals. Pittsburgh defensively really hobbled. They lost their best sack threat last week with a fractured ankle, and a couple of guys in the secondary also left that game. So something to keep an eye on is the health of their defense. May make that stack look a little bit more exciting.
Okay. All right. I like it, boys. RPS Heater 25% off your first month's payment. Also get a chance to listen to the NFL Spread Pod. Me, Rubio, Title. Tape that every Wednesday night. JT, good to see you. G-Rizen, good to see you. Thanks for watching or listening to this podcast. Uncle T, it's your birthday. Why don't you send us out of here?
Simon, get us out of here.
Taking the victory lap here with our boy Big T. Massive takedown PGA last night. Shipped the Millie.
The Twins got the job done for our boy Hoop. Won him $100K. Won him a live final seat.
JSU shipped $200K on, I think, just $1,000 worth of entries. He had a monster night.
Anytime we see members crush like this, we're excited.
Last night, one of our most loyal subscribers from the beginning, Jay Love, took down $20K.
I want to give a shout out to Redmen, who won over $50,000 on opening day.
Blind Bandit took down the $100,000 top prize.
We had someone win a live final seat.
It was one of those days where it's like going 5X or 10X on your money. It wasn't enough to get enough love in the Discord.
Record 62 took down the Millie Maker.
I don't even know if this heater's ever going to end.
Some of these other sites are just boring you to death.
I like how other sites nickel and dime you for every penny they can get.
Tons of the members have given tickets and membership on their own. Like, we're not telling them to do that. They're just doing it for good mojo.
You love to see it. We love the good mojo. And
The mojo is what the mojo is.
I give you credit for still having that happen. We appreciate it.
Wait till we ship tonight. I might never take it off.